Good morning, Starshines. My name is DH, my pronouns are they, them, and this is the Cozycast, episode 11. And I have a lot of projects to go through, and I forgot to charge my phone before I started filming, so we're slightly racing the clock. Playing Battery Chicken? Battery Chicken, that's the name for it now, I've decided. So let's get right into the projects. I do have a couple of finishes. Yay! The first finish I actually don't have here with me because I finished it and managed to wash, iron, and get it in the mail to the person that it's supposed to go to within a timely time frame, in a timely manner, which is very impressive for me. So my first finish is Kyrene Sora. This piece is a cross-stitch piece, obviously, from Needle Minder Layer on Etsy. I alternate between saying Needle Minder's Layer and Needle Minder Layer. It is Needle Minder Layer, no S. But yeah, this piece was so much fun to do. This was the piece that got me back into cross-stitching in the first place because Toot saw it and was like, your bestie needs this in their life, and I agreed and kind of dove headfirst into it without really thinking. It is the largest cross-stitch piece I've finished to date. It's just over 12,000 stitches. Of course, since then I've started things that are much larger, and at the moment I'd call 12,000 stitches kind of like a mid-size project for me. But yeah, this is the biggest finish I've ever done. I am so happy with it. It turned out so good. I did end up fudging in a few spots because there were some counting mistakes, but you can't tell. It looks so good. I'm not even going to point those areas out to you because it doesn't matter. So this is on its way to my bestie. I also ordered a frame for it off of Amazon to be shipped to them at the same time, so they can frame it themselves. It's all, I've given them instructions and stuff, but it's nothing fancy. It's basically just slap it in the frame. So pattern is from Needle Minder Layer on Etsy. I used 14 count baby blue Ada from Amazon. I believe the manufacturer is Donman, and I used all the called for DMC 2/1. I started this on February 29th, 2024, so just earlier this year, and I finished it on July 6th, 2024, which was just the day after I finished filming the last Cozycast, I believe, because I mentioned in the last one that I almost delayed filming because it was so close to being done. So my second finish is actually a knitting finish. I don't know what changed, but the knitting dopamine parasites started knitting dopamine parasiting in my brain, and I picked up knitting with a vengeance the last few days. So I have finished my knit flat trial sock. I was here when I picked it up a couple of days ago, and it literally took me a day and a half to knit the rest of the foot and the toe. So this is a plain vanilla sock. The yarn is Hobby Silly Socks in the colorway Witty Joker. And you can probably tell that there's a pretty obvious seam right here, and that is because I knit these flat and then seam them up. So here's a couple of pictures of what they looked like when they were in the process of being knit, because they look kind of silly. They are a very typical vanilla sock, other than the fact that they're knit flat. There's no like weird origami shaping or anything like that. There's just the single seam up the side. And you may be asking yourself, that's only one sock. How is this a finished object? Clearly, that's only a half object. No, this is a finished object. I am not going to be knitting a mate for this sock for a few reasons. One, I wanted to test the method to see if the sock was wearable. I don't need a pair of socks to do that. And two, this sock turned out really big. Like, this is a large sock blocker, and you can see how baggy this sock is on it. I don't know if it's just a combination of my gauge knit flat is looser, and I also sized up to a 72 stitch sock just because I wasn't sure how much this seam would tighten it up. The answer is not very much at all. So my next sock I am going to do my usual 64 stitches because it's very baggy. Like, even when I try it on, it's quite baggy. So yeah, this sock, I don't know what is going to become of it. I might sew it up and turn it into a kicker for the cats. I don't know, but it's just going to be a lone test sock. So this was a really interesting project. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you know that I'm disabled, you know that I started having problems with my hands, really bad hand tremors, and one of the things that I was not able to knit was socks. I did a video a little while ago, I'm going to link it down in the description. This is my pointer sock now. That was me testing various knitting methods to see which one was the most comfortable for me. Turns out that knitting using straight needles is the most comfortable for me. So that immediately raised the question, can I knit socks on straight needles? Yes, I can. So the experiment, I think, was a success. My overall notes, this is a very obvious seam, and it gets more obvious when you wear it, as it does stretch quite a bit like that. Let's see. The seam is quite sturdy. I did a crochet slip stitch, which is what a couple of the tutorials that I saw recommended. They just said it gave more give than a mattress stitch or something like that. That would be a little bit stiffer. And I believe that that is the case. I think that's why you almost get that extra stringy look, is because the crochet slip stitch does give you so much extra give, which is what you want in a sock. You want it to stretch to fit. So the seam I did on the inside of the sock, and it is very noticeable on the foot. That was my main concern, is how noticeable that seam would be. It's not uncomfortable. It's not like you've got a pebble in your shoe or something and it is going to wear a hole in your foot eventually. Like, it's not uncomfortable or painful, but it's there. Like, it's, maybe this is an autistic thing, maybe it's a neurodivergent thing, but like, I know it's there, and I kept playing with it, and I was super aware of the seam on my sock while I was wearing it. I wore these for a couple of hours this morning to test the seam, which is the whole point of making the sock. It was very, very present. So what I did was I was thinking, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to like rip out this seam and redo it with the seam on the outside to try that. And I realized I could just turn the sock inside out. So I turned the sock inside out and wore it like that, and it was super comfortable. The seam was in no way noticeable against my foot, but obviously it was super noticeable on the outside. Let me pull this off the blocker and I can show you what the seam looks like. All right, so there's the seam. It is a crochet slip stitch, so it's even more visible from this side. So if I were to wear these, like even if they weren't garter, it would be a very visible seam. However, I would rather have a sock that has a visible seam that I can turn into a design element, like some kind of Frankensock motif, do some embroidery over the seam, crochet bubble stitches over it or something like that. I'd rather have a sock with a visible design element seam than no sock at all, which is what it comes down to. If I can't knit socks flat, I can't knit socks. So I think that knitting socks with a visible design, with a visible seam that I can have a little bit of fun with, be a little bit creative, and really make the socks my own is going to be more than worth the effort and more than worth the sock yarn. All right, back on the blocker. I also found that knitting it flat was a lot speedier. This project did take me a while to do. I started it May 30th and I finished it yesterday, July 18th, so that is 2 months. However, I only spent 6 actual days knitting it and it flew by. So a lot of that 2 months was just it sitting in a drawer not getting touched. I'm really excited to try another sock. One that is going to fit me, that isn't going to be gigantic. I'm very excited to try more socks in this method. But for now, this sock is finished. It is a finished object. It is a piece of art. It will never get worn. It'll probably never get frogged, but it will live on in all of our hearts as a testament to science. All right, so those were my 2 finishes, which I'm very, very pleased with, especially that sock. Like I'm so pleased with how that sock turned out. But anyways, I'm sure most of you are here for cross stitch, so let's move back on to my whips because most of them are indeed cross stitch. First up is Deadly Aquarium. This is Deadly Aquarium by Lola Crow Cross Stitch. It is an ongoing stitch along, mystery stitch along. She is releasing a new exhibit every Friday, so there should be another one coming out in a few hours here. I'm very excited. The last exhibit was the vampire squid and the harrow-nosed ghost shark, which you can see there. So I am completely caught up on this. I am current. It's looking great. I love it. I love the little friends. I can't believe there's still another 6 exhibits to go, and it's already looking so full. Yeah, I love it. So I am stitching this, see, 2/1 with the called for DMC on a light green 14 count Aida. Again, I got it off of Amazon. I think the brand name is Dawn Man. And I am stitching this together with my very good friend Moonface. We're doing the Sal together, which has been so much fun. I don't know if I would have gotten sucked into doing the Sal as a Sal if she hadn't been so excited about it. And we kind of just jumped on the bandwagon together. But I'm very, very glad that we did because it's been so much fun. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I love waiting for the next clue to come out and seeing what's going to be next. And they're all nice little bite-sized pieces. I have a lot of stitching time, so it's usually only a couple days of stitching for me, but I feel like even for people who have less stitching time, it's still pretty doable in a week. And Lola Crow does give you weeks off to catch up. So that was my first whip. My next whip, which has been my focus project for the last little bit, not really on purpose, but just I've been really enjoying working on it. This is the Nostalgic Tarot, The Lovers by the Witchy Stitcher. She is releasing these cards 2 every other month on her Patreon. Some people are doing them as a complete piece, all 22 major arcana cards, which is just unhinged. It's so large. I did see a really cool one. Someone was doing that, and instead of this white, which is 3865 Winter White, they were using glow in the dark, which was a really neat effect. So yeah, so I decided that I'm just going to do them individually as smalls, and I'm only going to do the cards that I really want to do. Otherwise, I think I would just get bogged down in how huge of a project it is, and I wouldn't want to work on it. So I'm just taking them in little, you know, they're still 5,000 to 7,000 stitches each. So they're not small projects, but they are much smaller than trying to do 22 of them at the same time on the same piece of Aida. So this is how far I've gotten on the Lovers. I'm at about 54%. I am going to just finish filling in this top section, and then I'm going to move the frame and finish filling in the bottom section. I have been trying to do the black stitching as I go, so as not to heck my future self over and just leave them with a bunch of black stitching. I made a needle minder to go specifically with this project. Needle minder's available in the Etsy store. But I love this little one. So yeah, this has just been a really fun, really nice project to work on because it's large blocks of color. It's very bright and colorful. And it's just, it's very easy. Like it's an easy stitch. There's no quarter stitches. There's no half stitches. There's very little back stitching. I will have to back stitch around the aliens and the whiskers of the cat, but that's not going to be horrendous. And I am going to do the whiskers of the cat before I move the frame. And then hopefully I will have all of the aliens in frame when I move it. I think I will. If not, I'll use a larger frame. Also, you might notice that these are slightly smaller frames. So I've mentioned before that I have 2 8-inch frames that I prefer to use, which is still true. I also have a 6-inch frame and an 11-inch frame. The 11-inch is too big, the 6-inch is too small. However, I was feeling the need for like one more frame so that I could work on this and Deadly Aquarium at the same time. So I was thinking 8 by 11 might be good. Unfortunately, my 11-inch is like an off-brand frame, and it isn't compatible with my 8 inches. However, my 6-inch works. So this is a 6 by 8 inch Q-snap at this point, which I Frankensteined. Yeah. So this is 2/1 on Black Ada, again from Amazon. Again, I think it's Don Man, and I am using all of the called for DMC. All right, my next whip is another one that's in one of my little Frankenstein 8x6s. This is Fruit Bat Summer. This is my own design. It is now available on the Etsy and the coffee shop. Even though I haven't completely finished the sample, I did completely finish the frame. This is what it looks like. I have learned my lesson not to do an entire frame all at once. Let me see if I can get this closer to you, because the frame made me lose my will to stitch. Like it just did. It was so many stitches of the exact same small motif over and over and over again. No, never again. So I did get a lot of after the fact advice from various stitchy people to do the frame in pieces or not do the frame at all. So in this case, I did want to do the frame because I think it really ties the piece together, and I love the watermelons in the different stages of being eaten. But I would have definitely, if I were to do this again, I would do the border in little chunks as I fill in the center bit. However, the frame is now done, and the frame was over 50% of the stitches, so I have less than 50% of this to go. I just started on the alphabet this morning. Today is Friday, July 19th, which means that this is 24 hours of cross stitch this weekend. And while I'm not super participating the way that I did last time, if you want to see what I got up to in my last 24 hours of cross stitch, I will leave a link to my vlog. I went hard. It was slightly unhinged. So taking this one a lot easier, but I was thinking I wanted to see how far I could get on this project this weekend. Despite the fact that the knitting brain parasites are brain parasiting, and I might end up just knitting all weekend instead. If I do, that's fine. No stress. So yeah, so this is Fruit Bat Summer. It is my own design. It is based on Toot's love of summer fruit and her aversion to being a hot girl summer person. It is done 2/1 on 18 count oatmeal Aida from Loops and Threads. And I think that's all the details. It's all DMC threads. There's 11 colors, I believe, in the entire design. And it's just got these beautiful, rich berry tones, some nice blues, and of course a bunch of avocado greens. So yeah, so this guy is at 52%. We're going to see how far we can get by the end of the weekend. All right, my final cross stitch whip that I've been working on is Those Who Wait. So this went back into hibernation for a while because I was trying to grid it. Let's see. Yeah, you can definitely see the high-vis fishing line there. I thought I was going to grid the entire project. I tried and failed like 3 or 4 different times, and I was getting so frustrated, and I was really worried about what I was doing to the fabric that I decided I was just going to grid as I go. So I put it back into the 8-inch Q-snap where I was going to leave it for the next little bit, and I just gridded this area. So when I finished this square, I will pull the grid out and move the Q-snap and then grid the next area that I'm going to work on. This is a pattern by Heather of Stitchwit. We adore Heather of Stitchwit, and she graciously sent me this kit. I am so excited, especially now that I have stumbled upon the cross country by diagonal method, cross country by diagonal method, which is how I am now working on it. You can see those really nice crisp diagonals. I was working on this like really steadily for a few days and then got completely squirreled by the Nostalgic Tarot. So yeah. But I love this pattern. I'm so excited to see it come together. And yeah, I think it's just going to look amazing when it's all done. So I am using an 18 count Ivory Zweigart, and I am doing DMC 2/1, all the called for threads. It's only 4 colors, which is amazing. So she gets a lot of detail out of only 4 colors, and then using the ivory as the 5th color, basically. So yeah, this has been so much fun. Sorry for the hanging threads, but yeah, I wasn't super prepared with this one. So this is a whopping 7% of the way finished. It'll get there. Yep. So let's see if I can show you a little bit closer. So you can see the spaceship starting to take shape there. Yeah. So this one's been getting some love. It's constantly in rotation, and it will continue to get some love as we go. All right, last whip is another knitting one, and this is an active whip as of this morning. It just came back into rotation, and this you may recognize as my field sweater. So it's looking kind of crunkly because I have the front back on a straight needle. But basically I knit this yoke in the round. I started it back in February of this year, knit the yoke really, really, really fast. And then my hands got bad and I was unable to knit in the round. See my earlier thing about knitting flat. So I decided that I was going to split this into 4 pieces and knit each section individually. So that's what I did. I knit one sleeve, one complete sleeve, flat. And then I ran out of yarn. And I was like, that's fine, I'll buy more. Can I find this yarn in Canada? No. I would have to order it from the States for a ridiculous amount of money. So it's been in timeout while I figured out what to do about the yarn situation, because I don't really want to go through the hassle of getting more yarn in and then having it not be at the right point in the gradient and then having to order more. And then also I was looking at it, and this yoke is so beautiful that I feel like having the rest of the sweater be these rainbow stripes might make it just too busy. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of inspiration from Arne and Carlos, the Norwegian knitter, and what I'm doing is I'm actually color blocking it, kind of. So the rest of the sweater is going to be in this Patton's Oatmeal. I'm probably going to end up ripping out the sleeve that I've done and also redoing that in Oatmeal. I've just joined the new yarn. I did some dip stitches. You really can't see them. Let's see if I can scooch. I did some dip stitches to try and tie the 2 layers together, but because I'm not doing this too far from the bottom of the yoke, I feel like it'll have that same effect as the round yoke colorwork sweaters that have a really super patterned yoke and then a very plain body. That's the effect that I'm going for. I might end up with enough leftover yarn, especially after frogging that sleeve, to be able to do cuff and hem details in the mandala that I have left, which would be awesome. But we're going to see how the rest of the sweater goes. The Patton's Canadiana in Oatmeal, I have 5 balls of it in stash. I have them in my house. I know where they are. I can put hands on them. And if I need more, that I can get at my local Michael's. So I'm not super concerned about running out of that particular yarn. It's just the mandala that was proving hard to find. I can find Lion Brand mandala no problem. It's this particular colorway, the Chimera, that is proving problematic. But now I don't need to worry about it. So this one's back on the needles. I am going to probably try and get this busted out as fast as I can because I really want to see how it looks. The sleeve took me 2 days. So I'm hoping that the other portions, if I'm doing them in portions, will be really nice and fast as well. At least fast enough that I can get a feel for the sweater and see if my color blocking idea is going to work or if I do need to rip back and find more yarn somehow. I don't know. Okay, new starts. I have one new start, and I started this morning. So, like I said, the knitting parasites are parasiting. So this is a hat. I know it looks super hat-like right now, but it is a hat. I'm vaguely using a pattern called the Compass Hat and Cowl from the ebook Deluxe Men. Vaguely, I kind of like looked at the pattern, looked at how many stitches to cast on, and went, yeah, that looks good. But it's going to have like a cable rib detail, which is very nice. So this is for a good friend of mine. They are an amazing digital artist, and like we've been friends for a few years online, just chatting back and forth. They are an amazing digital artist, and they've been really producing a lot more art. But their kind of art genre is vaguely disturbing robotics, is the best way I would put it. Like, it's slightly creepy horror stuff, a lot of androids and things like that. So, which is not really my like cozy, cheerful vibe at all. So at some point in the past, when they would post pictures of their art, I would then really poorly Photoshop pictures of my knitted hats onto their art, like giving them knitted hats or knitted gloves or things like that, like just basically dressing up these like slightly creepy robotic characters that they were creating in my warm knitted things. Which was, it was funny because they'd post and like 5 minutes later I'd have an answering post for them of their creepy creation in you know, a knitted toque. So it was really cute over the Christmas season. They had done that, they had posted something, and I photoshopped a picture of the hat that I made for my dad. I'm gonna try and find the piece of art that I did this to. If I can, I'll put it up. If not, I'll just put up a picture of the hat. But and then my friend actually made it their profile picture for the whole month of December, which was so nice. So I am knitting them an actual hat, like an IRL real hat for them to wear on their physical person. So yeah, I don't expect this to take very long. But I'm really enjoying it. So like I said, the pattern is slightly being wung, and the yarn is Lion Brand Heartland in the colorway Kings Canyon, and I'm using 4.5 millimeter straights. So I'll knit it flat and then seam it up. Simple, easy, straightforward. So the next update is a bit of a sad one. I want some F's in chat. This is a UFO. This project will not be finished. I'm not going to frog it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with the fabric, but it will not be finished. And this is Tangled Garden. So F's in chat for Tangled Garden. We have my completely filled in upper section there. We have my chaos stitching in the middle. So I was really excited about this project. Really, really, really excited. A little too excited because I jumped in with both feet when I should not have. The pattern that I ended up mocking up, it looked good, but it doesn't look anything like the original art. So let me just show you what I mean. So this is the original art. This is the piece that I mocked up in Pick to Pat. And this is the piece that I generated in a couple of minutes using Wind Stitch. So you can see that the Wind Stitch version is already a lot closer to the original artwork than the Pick to Pat version. And I couldn't get over that. I couldn't get that out of my head. And I don't think I would be happy with this project if I kept going, and doing another 43,000 stitches on something that I'm not going to be happy with doesn't sound like a good time. So I'm not happy with the pattern. I am going to restart it. I am going to redo the pattern in Wind Stitch where I have a little bit more control over the colors and the color blocking and things like that. I love this painting. It is The Tangled Garden by J.E.H. MacDonald, and it is one of my favorite paintings. I would like to, as I work on my photo conversion skills, I would like to produce more patterns from Group of 7 paintings, because I haven't really seen them. I've only seen them from one vendor, and they are not really well done, and they don't have any of the JEH McDonald ones. And also their Group of Seven collection, but it's mostly Tom Thompson and Emily Carr, who are not part of the Group of Seven. Personal Canadian art history pet peeve. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. So even though I'm not going to be finishing this, I am not upset that I started it. I don't regret starting it at all. I learned a lot about full coverage. I learned a lot about techniques. This was the first time I used a grid. This is the first time I used 16 count. This is the first time I did full coverage. This is the first time I tried parking. So I learned a lot with this project. I'm probably going to try and salvage some of the 16 count fabric. It's probably not going to be enough for like a large project, but if I'm doing a small or something, then it would be good. So I'm really happy with what I learned from this, and I'm really excited to eventually restart it in a way that is going to work a little bit better for me. All right, so that's all the projects, which I feel like there were a lot of them this week, but I love talking to you guys about what I'm working on and talking through many different things. It's a lot of fun for me, and I like info dumping, and I like info dumping to a receptive audience, which I hope you guys are. And if you aren't, I don't know that there's nobody watching this part, so I could be talking to myself, but it feels like I'm not, so it's all good. So let's talk about plans. I didn't do plans in the last video because my plans for June kind of completely fell apart, and I didn't really want to make any more plans that I wasn't going to keep. I do have some vague plans. I'm vague planning at this point. It's like vague posting, but vague planning. This weekend, as I said, is 24 hours of cross stitch, so I'm going to see how far I can get on Fruit Bat Summer. I will probably focus on that until it's finished. There's only about 2,300 stitches left in the whole thing, which is not very much, especially considering how fast I stitch and how much stitching time I have. It's not that I'm a particularly fast stitcher, it's just that I have more free time than most people do. It's the long and short of it. And I spend most of it cross-stitching. So Fruit Bat Summer is going to be a focus project. The next clue for Deadly Aquarium is going to drop today, but I probably won't start that until I've got Fruit Bat Summer finished. So my cross-stitch plans are I want to finish Fruit Bat Summer, finish Nostalgic Tarot, and then my next start is going to be this little Mill Hill kit that my friend Moon got for me. I've been eyeing it. I really want to try it. It's been sitting in my drawer for so long, so that is the plan. I am going to work on Those Who Wait and one of these smalls, and we're just going to work through my whips like that, and then after Mill Hill I'll figure out what I want to cast on next. Cast on, already the knitting lingo is starting. I'll figure out what I want to start next, but at that point the only other whip that I would have to work on is Celtic Witch, which might be getting a restart as well. I'm not entirely sure. That is a future DH dilemma. In terms of knitting, I want to finish the hat for my friend. So again, I might finish that by the end of the weekend. It kind of depends. Like, I want to cross stitch because it's 24 hours of cross stitch, but I also want to knit because I really want to knit. So I'm probably going to end up doing a little bit of both, which means I won't hit either of my weekend goals, but that's okay. So I want to get the hat finished, and then it's going to be full steam ahead on the field sweater. I don't think I mentioned the name of the designer. So the field sweater is called the Field Sweater. It's by designer Camilla Bad, and it does feature really heavily in one of my recent videos, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So yeah, those are the plans. We are going to work through our cross stitch whips until I only have 3 whips. That is the plan. 3 whips, no more. And same with knitting. I definitely want to get down to 3 or 4 whips in knitting. Right now I'm sitting at 9, I believe, which is, it's okay, but I'd like to get some of them done. I have, so field is about 35% of the way through, I'd say. Probably a little bit less once I'd say more like a quarter once I rip back the the sleeve. And then I've got Linger, which is also sitting at about a third of the way through. So I think those are going to be my two focus projects right now. If I manage to keep from casting on a sock, which might be happening as well, because I'm really, really stoked about my success with sock knitting. All right, community news real quick, because I have already been filming for almost an hour. There are two new videos on the YouTube channel. One is one that I have been working on for months at this point. I'm so happy that it's finally out. And that is DH's Guide to Knitting for Big Boys. It came out just this past Wednesday, and it is a guide to measuring yourself, choosing a pattern, modifying a pattern, everything that you need to know about knitting for someone with a larger body, whether that be man, woman, beast, gender non-specific. It is all there in the guide to knitting for big boys. So I really hope that you guys go check that out, and I hope that you find it educational, interesting, helpful. I got a really, really sweet feedback comment from someone in the community that due to the extensive math portion of the video, they feel like they are now able to calculate a moon landing. So mission accomplished for me, I think. The other new video on the channel is a whip parade. I go through all of my cross-stitch whips and all of my knitting whips. I have finished and or frogged quite a few things since that video. And even when you watch it, you'll see me go, this is a whip. It's gonna get frogged. So enjoy that as well. That one was a lot of fun to do, but it was also a lot. That was a lot of filming, a lot of pulling stuff out, a lot of cleanup. So definitely check that one out. It was a lot of fun to make. Speaking of videos, there is still time if you would like to submit your work for the community showcase. So this is a video that is going to go up in a couple of weeks. I am looking for submissions from members of the community to basically show off your stuff. Show me a cool project that you finished. It doesn't have to be a recent finish. It could be any finish from any point in your life, any craft. There is a special channel in the Discord server where you can leave all of the information that you would like the viewers to know about your project, along with pictures. And I am going to gather up all of those submissions and put them into a community showcase video in a couple of weeks. So I will be gathering submissions for another week and a half at this point. I think I said that they were going to close at the end of July. So if you are interested in being featured in that video, I'm asking for between 1 and 3 projects from everyone. And I would really, really like to see what you guys have been working on. I am going to go and bother some members of the community and see if they would like to submit. But definitely check that out. The link to the Discord is below in the description. It is the best place on the internet to hang out, which is my totally biased opinion. We also have a Facebook page for the Cozy DH now. The link is down in the description in our socials link. If you are a Facebook user, you can give it a like, give it a follow. It's going to be pretty much the same information and updates that you get if you follow the Discord community or the Instagram account. I'm going to try and keep it updated the way that I keep the other methods of communication, lines of communication updated, just so you guys know what's going on in your preferred format. I have done a little shop update since the last Cozycast. If you want to go check it out on the coffee shop and the Etsy shop, I have released 4 new patterns. We have Fruit Bat Summer, which I showed off earlier in the video. There is Sweaty Bob, who is the companion piece to Cozy Bob, as well as 2 new minis, one Valorant mini and one of my Tiny Horrors. So I hope you will check those out in the Etsy shop. There will be a new free cross-stitch pattern coming out at the beginning of August, so keep an eye out for that. If you follow on Coffee, you will get a little notification when I add new things to the shop or post new updates. The last bit of community news is that everyone is sick. I think most of our community has been sick in some way or the other in the last 2 weeks, myself and Toot included. Toot was the Walking Dead, not even the Walking Dead. She couldn't walk. She was in bed. She was the dead in bed for a solid week, and we're still getting over it. There were no live streams this past week because I just could not, which is a big part of why I'm not doing a lot for 24 hours of cross stitch. We're doing 24 hours of recovery. We're doing 48 hours, 72 hours of recovery at this point. I was joking that I think my last live stream, which was now like almost 2 weeks ago, I must have accidentally streamed like something like lo-fi and unsealing the tomb of the cursed pharaoh, because we all got sick after that. But luckily, it seems like everybody's looking up, so yay. So that is all the Cozy DH news. There are a ton of links down in the description as to where you can find us everywhere. When I say us, so my name is DH, like that's my actual legit IRL name, if you're not aware. I am Cozy, but when I talk about the Cozy DH as like a thing, it's the team of myself and Toot, the team of Cozy and Chaos, as I like to call us. So when I say we, I'm referring to the Cozy DH team, not the person who is DH and Cozy. Please follow me. So yeah, you can check us out all over the internet down below. The coffee shop, the Etsy, the YouTube. We have streams on Twitch. We've got the Facebook page now, Instagram. I am trying to update the Instagram daily. So yeah, and of course the Discord server as well. If you have any big questions that won't be answered in a simple comment, or if you have any ideas for future streams, videos, patterns, anything like that, there is a link to the suggestion box down below. It's just a simple Google form. You can drop in anything that you are thinking of. So right about now, you should be seeing some buttons popping up around my head. If you hit this one, you'll subscribe to the channel. And if you hit one of these, you'll go to another one of my videos. I think you should check them out. They're pretty cool. So until next time, my friends, I will see you in the live streams. I'll see you in the coffee shop. I will see you in the Deadly Aquarium. But most importantly, I will see you in my heart. All right. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.